Welcome to Walkabout the Galaxy, the good-natured astronomy podcast, where the science is universal, the opinions are personal, and the trivia is quite a bit of a stretch.
Cool.
Oh. We are Strange Charm and Top the Astroquarks, also known as Josh Cole, Addie Dove, and in a special return performance, Tracy Becker, the first top quark. Welcome back to the show, Tracy.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Here we are in Geneva.
The Walkabout Studios in Geneva.
The traveling Walkabout Studios in Geneva, Switzerland for the annual meeting of the AAS Division of Planetary Sciences, which we'll get to, but we're also welcoming a special guest, Bonnie Meinke.
Yay!
Hi, Bonnie. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. We are, as we said, in the traveling Walkabout Studios at the joint meeting of the Division of Planetary Sciences of the American Astronomical Society. That's one thing.
It's a lot of mouthfuls.
That's
the European,
a lot of mouthfuls.
The European Planetary Science Congress, EPSC.
The European Planetary Science Congress of the Europlanet Society or something like that.
No, Europlanet Society is like a new thing. It's like
it's a separate thing.
with all this stuff, yeah.
Anyway, it's the American planetary scientists and the European planetary scientists, plus any other planetary scientists from wherever they want to be, come to this meeting.
Big international meeting.
So that's why we're here in Geneva, Switzerland, for this special on-the-road recording of Walkabout the Galaxy. Be sure to stick around to the end of the episode for Addie's closing note.
Do you have it written? You ready to
She's
go?
ready. She's got it. No problem. Our stumpers
Always.
are geographical.
Great.
Tracy, Europe or Europa?
Europa.
Oh, no hesitation.
No hesitation.
100%.
Even though
Why?
you've been having a wonderful time in Europe here?
Yeah, it's been great. I even went to a restaurant last night, or tried to, but they didn't accept 10 people walk in with no reservation. But
It
it
was
was called
called
Le Europa.
Oh, I saw that on the
yes.
map.
I bet it wasn't called Le Europa.
It was L apostrophe Europa.
Europa.
Europa? Really?
Yeah.
With an A at the end?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
L'Europa.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I saw it on the map.
Interesting.
I chose that restaurant.
Was it
because
named
it
after
was
the
named-
Greek goddess?
Well, I think
Or
Europe.
Europe is
supposed to be
named
Europe.
after- yeah.
Europe.
Well,
But Europe is
confused by
Europe
the
with
A.
an
I
E.
don't know.
Yeah, the A shouldn't be there.
But yes, Europa.
Okay. Addie, Alps or Rockies?
I'm gonna have to go Rockies only because I've never been to the Alps.
Okay.
So-
Well, you're sort of a little bit in the Alps. You've been a little
Yeah.
bit in the Alps.
I don't really feel like it.
Okay.
I haven't done any alpine things except eat fondue.
And hike up a
That's
very steep
We
hill.
did hike up a very steep hill, but I've done
hiked
that in
an
the
alpine
Rockies
hill.
also.
Okay.
Uh,
But was there a planet walk? A planetenweg?
There is at the University of Colorado, so sort
But
of.
that's not.
It was a
no.
different. The Planet Vega was
different feel.
exciting.
Yeah. We
Bonnie?
did a lovely walk where we saw all the planets in there.
After Jupiter,
yes.
we didn't.
Saturn and beyond.
We didn't
saw.
go into the inner solar system. We only
This
went
was
into the
a
outer solar
scale
system.
model solar
Scale
system.
model.
It was.
Yeah.
It
For-
is
so
on-
people know what the hell
yes.
you're talking about.
In Zurich.
A
In
planet
Zurich. In the hometown mountain known as Uetliberg.
And what
Yeah.
was the scale?
Oh, I have a picture
How
that
big?
says it.
How big was something? And I can
Saturn
fig-
was this big,
So that's 1 billion
We
to
worshipped
1.
Saturn.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a great photo
So
that
it's
we'll
like a
post
several
of them
mile
worshiping
long-
Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
Several mile
Yes.
long scale model solar system. The
Yes.
sun would be the size of a large beach ball.
We didn't
Sort
see
of.
the sun.
Or beach ball size in that scale. If
We
Saturn,
didn't see the scale model sun.
for our audio listeners,
Mm-hmm.
the
Oh, yeah.
the size you held
Tennis
up for
ball.
Saturn was sort of tennis ball sized.
Yes.
And at 10 billion to 1, Saturn is a small marble. So I'm guessing
Yes.
1 billion to 1.
It was one.
It
Yes,
was a
it's
long
1
walk.
billion to 1. I just
Yes.
looked it up. 1
So we
billion.
had the picture, and it was a very long walk.
1 milliard.
If you do the whole solar system at 1 billion to 1, at 10 billion to 1, the solar system is about a kilometer
Yeah.
from the sun to Pluto. Bonnie, Geneva or Switzerland?
Wait, Geneva's
I'm
different
sorry.
than Switzerland. You had like two
had
Josh
Geneva
has had
wine.
3 sips of wine.
Geneva
In
or
the traveling
Zurich?
podcast edition, we feature wine.
Geneva or Zurich is what I meant to say.
Zurich, because I speak German, and Geneva has
Ah.
been very difficult to navigate
Oh,
because
see,
I
it's the
speak
opposite
zero French.
for me.
So,
This is
yeah,
much
very
easier,
good.
and Zurich is
Switzerland
difficult.
is an interesting, as 4 official languages actually. Bonus quick pop trivia. What are the 4 official languages of Switzerland?
Italian,
Correct?
German, French, and Romansh.
You win. Very good. Good for you.
High school German classes pay off.
Today we're talking about another interstellar interloper in the solar
Yes.
system, just recently discovered.
Can we
Also-
have a new classification that's just called interloper? Like, there's always debates about if it's a comet or an asteroid. Just call it an interloper.
Well, it does get, as we'll get to
It's
later
an
when we're
I.
discussing it gets an I designator. And I don't know if we really
Interstellar.
know necessarily whether to classify them as asteroids or comets. And that whole distinction doesn't even really mean very much in,
It's a bit
in our
fuzzy.
own solar system anymore.
It's a bit fuzzy.
It is a bit fuzzy. That's sort of punny, which we'll come back to.
Good work.
Also, the discovery of an ancient asteroid collision indirectly by looking at meteorite residue in archaeological layers on the Earth that led to some climate changey stuff on the Earth. And we'll give our little report from this meeting that we've been at. We've been hearing all the late breaking news from planetary science this week. But first, this episode of Walkabout the Galaxy is brought to you by the Little Ice Age. Overheating your planet? Got the CO2 blues? Consider bringing back an ice age for some cool relief from those hot summer, spring, fall, and winter days. Most recently visiting your planet starting in 1300, the Little Ice Age can have you ice skating on the Thames and revisiting glaciers wiped out by global warming. Thermonuclear war or a series of massive volcanic eruptions are all you need to get your planet back on the right track for a nice cold walkabout the galaxy. So warm up those missiles and keep Joe out of the volcanoes.
Oh, yeah.
Got it?
Yeah.
Massive delivery of dust to the stratosphere by any means, even extraterrestrial in origin, will cool you down and lead to a different set of extinctions than the ones you're currently causing.
Great.
Warning, lower air conditioning costs may be offset by higher heating costs. The Little Ice Age. Share the fantasy.
Oh, share the fantasy.
Share the fantasy.
So a new
You
feature.
can't look because you can see my script.
A new
You can see
feature
the answer.
is figuring out what actual tagline that's from.
Share the fantasy.
Share the fantasy.
A Disney movie.
Is it
No.
It's probably just Disney.
the
No.
advertisement for Granada?
No.
Was at this meeting?
No, that was Feel.
That was
I was like, feel.
I want to feel.
That's the advertisement for what?
The next,
Granada.
Oh, you were
the
not
next
the-
EPSC is in Granada, and they did a
Oh.
little advertisement.
It was
for
a very
The
good
next
ad.
version of the European part of this meeting, because
Yes.
the Americans and the Europeans get together every 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
Is that? I thought it was more frequent than that.
No.
It's
Okay.
It's supposed to be every 3 years.
Oh, but
It's
and they
just in the
trade
US.
back and
3
forth
in the
between
US.
Yeah.
North America.
Yeah,
And,
okay.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
the next one's going to be in London, Ontario.
So every
Canada.
6 years in Europe, and then the Europeans, we go over there every 6 years. They come over here to the States. In any event,
Anyway, we don't know.
Share the fantasy. You give up.
Yep.
Everybody's giving up.
Disney.
I already
Chanel.
said that.
Everybody said Disney. I already said
Oh.
Chanel number 5 specifically.
Oh.
Is that because we're like so close to France? Is that why
No,
we decided to use that?
It just
the Little
seems-
Ice Age just
Seemed fanatical.
just
Just wants to smell nice.
Fantastical.
Fantastical. Sorry.
Yes. So space news. That's all we've been
That's what we've
hearing.
been doing this week.
This
Space
week.
news.
Space
Well, I actually
news.
haven't been paying attention to regular news. Just space news. It's
Just
been
space
pretty
news.
great.
It's pretty intensive space news. We're at the end of the meeting. It's Friday afternoon,
Hence the
so it's
why.
been 5 intensive
Full days.
days of space. So
8:30 to 7 p.m. every day.
sometimes even later, I have the feeling,
No, that science is happening.
Science.
oh, you haven't been doing any science in the dinner discussions.
That's
True. That's
Yeah,
true.
we've been
The
doing
scheduled
that. Of course,
program.
yeah.
Well,
The
of
scheduled
course.
program
Of course.
is 8:30 to 7 almost every
So
day.
what are some highlights from your take, Addie?
So let's see. I'm trying to remember like early in the week.
It was a long time ago
It was
now.
a long time ago.
So many talks ago.
So many talks ago.
Just for people who are not familiar with these sorts of meetings,
Yes. So.
we're at a convention center,
Yep.
and
This
there are-
one's extra special because it's like we're in Geneva, and so it's near sort of like UN type stuff.
it has a very UN sort of feel
Yeah,
to it.
and
There's
and the room we're in
headphones.
is like the headphones, and it's got the extra row of seats for translators
Uh-huh.
and all of these things. And like there's this big giant venue that's where some of the big presentations were, and there it's like a big side. And the
It's-
first time
it's
we walked
like-
in, somebody said, "This is like the Star Wars
Senate.
the Senate," and I was like expecting pods to be floating around.
Right.
It wasn't quite
It was
that
pretty
big,
good.
but
Yeah.
it's big.
The implicit thing that you just said there is that we're surrounded by nerds.
That's also true. Yeah.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
They
They didn't
make
say,
us-
"Oh, this is like the UN."
make a
They
Star
said,
Wars-
"Oh, this is a
This is
Star
like
Wars
Star
thing."
Wars
It is
reference.
also like
Yeah.
the UN.
But at the convention,
Akbar's here too.
That's true.
So,
we have Admiral
he's not-
Akbar and
Yeah, he's not an admiral, but
Yeah.
his name is Akbar.
I'm sure he-
so.
so there are many meeting
one.
rooms. Some that like one main big meeting room, which it's
Dubbed
meeting
Jupiter.
room number 1, but they called it Jupiter
Yes.
this week for this meeting. Number 2 was Saturn, and so on. And in those rooms, throughout the day, there are scientific presentations going on. During a scientific presentation, my family frequently asks, "What happens at these meetings?"
So
we
much
take
science.
turns going up People have submitted talks or presentations to give, and if they're selected and scheduled in a session, so this morning we were all at the planetary ring session.
It's true.
One person goes up and gives a talk, usually sometimes less than 10 minutes, but up to 15 minutes at this particular meeting. And everybody in the audience is checking their email. That's sort of typically what happens at these meetings.
Usually paying attention.
Actually not.
I felt like a lot of people were paying attention at the meeting this week.
Yeah.
I mean, people.
I think it's because of the timing difference.
Yeah,
the emails aren't urgent.
That's true.
Right. In the morning session back in the States, for us, everybody's still asleep.
Yeah.
So there are multiple sessions going on at once, which means that we have all had very different experiences of this meeting.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get to. So
Yes.
we haven't all been all together sitting in one room. There's probably over 1,000 scientists here.
Yeah. I think there were
And-
something like 1,400 accepted presentations.
Some of which are
But some are
oral
doubles.
and some of which
Yeah.
are poster presentations. You hang a poster up. So Tracy and I had poster presentations, and Addie and Bonnie had
Talks.
verbal, or what we call oral presentations. And
Yeah, I mean, I think
so
one of the
aside
best
from your
ones,
own,
that was
and
mine.
discounting
Our
yours
own
and Bonnie's,
presentations, yes.
what presentations stuck out? What are some cool things that you heard about?
So all day Tuesday, I was in the Saturn room, and they were all talks about OSIRIS-REx and Hayabusa 2. So these are the two ongoing asteroid missions that we talk about sometimes. And so those were all super awesome because they were new results and new images, and it was cool because it alternated between OSIRIS-REx and Hayabusa 2 talks, and so there were.
I found that super confusing.
So I found it confusing, and at first I was annoyed because it didn't seem like they were even sticking with like a type of topic. But then I think after the first session, it was like a thermophysical model, and a thermophysical. But it was cool to see it juxtaposed, but it was also confusing
because the two
like, which one are we
asteroids
on?
look very,
They're very
similar. They both look like these funny sort of, to be more nerdy again, they look sort of like 8-sided die or something like that. 10-sided die. They have a funny diamond sort of shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was why I made the joke.
So they both have exactly the same shape, really. I mean, it's.
Well, we call that an equatorial ridge that makes it look like that, but yes, it's very diamond shaped.
Yeah, they're very I think of. For equatorial ridge, I think more of like Iapetus, Saturn's moon, which is a ball that has a ridge around the equator, or Pan, or Atlas, which are balls or eggs with big ridges. Whereas this is like
it's just
a funny
the shape.
cube.
Yeah.
It's sort of like
That's what they call it either way.
probe.
Well, we know that.
It's a little bit like the I guess there's some probes in the original series of Star Trek that were sort of that shape, spinning things from
I was thinking they look like a top, or like if you had a sand dune that was like just suspended free form, like you know how sand dunes like have an angle that they always come down at, and then they.
Yeah, but then you have to.
But you have to mirror it. On the bottom,
it's top and bottom. Or if you take just like it's weird, and they both have exactly that shape. Yeah. But the target of
they're
the
actually
American,
different sizes.
These are two small asteroids. They're both quite small.
Yeah.
One is being orbited by the Japanese lander Hayabusa 2 that has already done some sampling mechanism. Let's call it Ryugu. That's the other thing that's confusing is they both have funny U names.
Yeah.
OSIRIS-REx is orbiting Bennu, and the other one is orbiting Ryugu, which sounds even if you've heard that said like 10 times.
We've heard it said a lot more than 10 this week.
But like in a row, like in those sessions. I started feeling like that's not a real name. That's not a real word. But Bennu, the one the American mission is at, OSIRIS-REx, is more rough looking, right? It's more blocky.
Yeah, there's very little dust on it. So one of the cool things that they showed this week was also where they're sort of choosing the landing site, so where they're going to get their sample from.
Yep.
So they showed the 4 locations that they're going to further assess over the next couple of weeks, and then decide which place is the best place to pick up a sample from.
I think they've basically already decided, but they're not feeling it.
Maybe. I was talking to scientists. It seemed like there were still scientists part of the mission that were still talking about the pros and cons of different ones.
So they actually that mission gave themselves like almost a year or something to do the site selection. The Japanese mission has gone much more rapid pace.
But they've been successful already twice.
Yes. One of the things the Hayabusa 2, the Japanese mission, did was they dropped a bomb. We've talked about this on previous episodes, but they deposited a bomb on the asteroid, then they went and hid on the other side, and they left a little peeker thing. They left a little baby camera. It's a very sophisticated operation because they had like drop the bomb, then they deposited a watcher camera, then they go hide on the other side of the asteroid,
Yeah.
then they blow up the bomb
Yep.
and have a movie of it, which was really cool to see that.
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
Then they came back and looked at the hole they made, and then they're going to go in and
Sample
have they
it.
already gone in and caught the stuff
They already
from
went
the
in
bottom
and
of
sampled
that
that
hole.
one. Yeah, but they just dropped another target marker for something else to sample. But I didn't think they were doing another touchdown, so I was confused.
Well, there's
about that.
and they have another lander that they'll be deploying as well. So it's been a very
maybe that's what
ambitious
that
Minerva
was.
2.
Oh, that's right. That's what that one's for.
Yeah, so they've had a very ambitious, and so far, as far as we can
Successful.
tell, completely successful, and they're going to be bringing a piece of the asteroid back, and OSIRIS-REx will be getting a piece, hopefully, of their asteroid next year,
Yes.
and it's the whole spaceship, and these are not really spaceships that are landers. They're like things designed to fly free in space, and it's got to go down
around something that has very little gravity.
Yeah.
It has essentially no gravity, and it has these giant boulders.
Yeah.
And the
Which
American,
we were not necessarily expecting.
they were not expecting.
Yeah.
They were really not expecting. Yeah.
So the Americans are all like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those missions were exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else have you talked about this week?
Well,
Or been interested in
I went
this
to
week?
on Wednesday a lot of talks about Europa.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of really cool stuff going on with people being able to measure using different telescopes across the world to try to get the composition of Europa. There's a lot of effort going into figuring out kind of where areas of interest will be for when Europa Clipper gets to Europa. What different types of terrain we want to sample. How does the terrain relate to possibly material from inside Europa possibly coming out? Are there plumes on Europa?
When you
If
say
so,
sample,
how do we find them?
Yeah.
Did I say sample?
You did.
Oh, I meant to say look at. Sorry. I was just
Wishful
So
thinking.
we can sample in a sense if there are these plumes that we believe we've seen
Yes.
with Hubble. Europa Clipper will fly through those plumes and sample it that way because we have a dust collector and also a mass spectrometer which can actually taste or smell or whatever description you want to use the material as we fly through it.
And it will encounter dust from Europa because even Galileo's dust detector 25 years ago detected dust from Europa and the other icy moons. So they know they will get European dust.
European, yes.
And our friend and colleague from University of Colorado, Sasha Kempf, is the PI of that instrument.
Suda.
Tracy is on the team for the ultraviolet spectrometer
I am.
on Europa Clipper, so it's very exciting. Bonnie, what was highlight for you?
I really like the sessions about the future missions. Because there's a whole round of discovery proposals that just went in, and that's the American version of the smaller scale planetary missions.
Yeah.
So hearing about everyone who put one in was really cool. I can't remember the number off the top of my head. I want to say 18, maybe 14, but
That's
a lot.
And
And they all have different ideas about what should happen. There were some that were Venus. I didn't
How
really
many-
pay,
how
I have to
many
admit, I
Venus
didn't pay
ones?
much attention to those, but the ones that were outer solar
Nobody
system, I was
does.
way more excited.
So,
Poor Venus.
well, one thing, so mentioning Venus, so one of the fun things that happens at this kind of meeting, one of our sort of cultural quirks that we have in academia is we identify an academic family tree.
Yes.
So your advisor is your academic parent, and then once you do that,
Siblings.
then if you both have the same advisor, you're academic siblings. So
Josh and
Bonnie and I are academic siblings because we have the same advisor, Larry Esposito, who submitted one of those discovery proposals
Venus.
To
for
Venus.
a mission to
Yeah.
go study Venus's atmosphere.
Yep.
And Tracy is my academic daughter, which makes Bonnie her academic aunt. Anyway, it's fun. Then we bump into people. You can introduce people. It's like we're academic siblings or
Yes.
whatever.
Cousins.
Things
Yeah,
like
cousins.
that.
We had a family dinner the other night.
We did.
Yeah,
It was nice.
an academic family dinner.
I'm a redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
Literally.
Literally, but
You're,
okay.
we've never decided
You're-
how postdocs
No,
fit
it's
in.
almost perfect to be a stepchild because you're a postdoc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You weren't born of the family,
Oh,
right.
but you're
But you
still
came
part
in.
of the family.
Became part of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about asteroids, that was one of our two sort of main sciencey things.
But the discovery proposals, they actually get comments back on Monday.
Yeah.
The weaknesses, the major weaknesses, and then they
Yes.
can address them.
Well,
Yeah.
all they can do. So I've been on. So I know how this
Yeah.
works. Is all NASA proposals go through what's a peer review process where unconflicted, meaning people without any interest in the outcome of the selection process. Scientists come in, review the proposals. So every time we're trying to do research, we submit proposals and they have to go through that process. These big mission proposals, they're for hundreds of millions of dollars. It's a big deal. Writing the proposal is like a major undertaking of a lot of people spending a lot of time to put together these massive proposals that describe not just the science they're going to do, but how they're going to manage it and how all the instruments are going to work, how the spacecraft's going to work. And they get 2 review teams, one for science and one for the technical management and cost, TMC.
We love our acronyms.
Yes, and they come up with a list of major and minor weaknesses or questions or things, and those go back to the proposers, and they have 48 hours to respond to those, but they can't say...
Is it always 48 hours?
For this discovery round, it's 48.
Okay.
So for the Europa instruments, it might have been different. For the discovery round, it's 48 hours, and it's separate 48 hours for the technical versus the scientific.
But you can't say anything new, right?
You can't say anything new.
You can just point out things that are already in the proposal that they miss.
All you can do is, like, they'll say, this proposal completely neglected something or other, and all they can respond is, see
Line
page
52.
13, paragraph 2.
I sort of wish they did that with regular proposals these days.
I do.
There's a lot of issues these days of people, like, getting reviews back that say, like, you didn't address this, and you're like, it's right there. And then they can argue with you afterwards and say, like, okay, but that's not really a great explanation.
Right, but it doesn't matter.
Anyway.
Yes.
So after this happens, then is it the same review team that then will review the...
Re-review?
No.
What's been said, like, hey, we pointed out the right things now?
The expert review panel is done, and they put those questions, then the teams answer those questions.
And then it's just NASA headquarters.
And then it's just NASA. Okay. The TMC people might still be involved later, but the science people are done.
Don't they contract that out to a
TMC?
particular...
To people like us.
Oh, I thought they contracted out to a particular company. Sorry.
No, the company just hires consultants to do that technical review.
And usually it's engineering people, but sometimes it's science.
So anyway, there were a lot of probably very antsy people at the meeting, because Monday they're going to get this list of questions. They got 48 hours and only $750 million writing on it or something like that.
As soon as they get home from Geneva.
Well, that's true. But okay, so yes, but some of them look like they were ready to live it up before that happened. There were a couple of early morning sessions that people had come to very obviously hungover.
Nice.
But you can guess who some of those people are. But
please tell us. Nobody will ever hear.
No, nobody listens to this podcast.
I'm
kidding. I love you.
Sorry,
guys.
dear listeners.
I'm the only person who's allowed to make that. I'm the only one who's allowed to make that joke.
I was kidding. I'm sorry. I didn't know the rules.
See if we have you back.
So
we'll have you back.
There's a new interstellar object in the solar system.
Oh, we're going to talk about other science now, too.
Yes.
Actually, there was some talks about this at the meeting this week. I didn't go to them, though.
I did not either.
This thing has the designation C, for the moment, C 2019 Q4.
But it'll probably be
It'll probably be I2.
I2, second one.
I1 was Oumuamua.
Yeah.
Oumuamua.
And I2 doesn't have a name yet.
It does not. Its current name is just a temporary designation. It was discovered about 30 astronomical units from the sun just a week ago, so about September 15th or so.
And it was by an amateur, right?
He's got
he's
a
like
doctorate.
A frequent amateur, though.
Okay.
He's an astronomer and a comet hunter.
Okay.
But he wasn't using a professional telescope. He was still using his amateur observatory, right?
It was a big, good enough telescope to see something that's only 10 kilometers across at a distance of 300 million miles.
I'm interested in why
I think
amateurs are finding these and not pan-stars.
Well, pan-stars is finding a gajillion things. Pan-stars is an acronym for something that's spelled pan-stars. And
it's a large survey.
It's a big
something like
large sky stuff.
Yeah. It's an array sort of telescope that's looking at a lot of the sky automated. And it has all these, which is why one would expect it to be, how come they didn't catch it. But it's cool that still some person with a telescope can discover an interesting object. And one of the things, and I don't know in detail, like, if this showed up in pan-stars or not, but
I don't think
This
I
thing's
think
like
they
in
probably
one
looked
spot
for
of the
it.
sky, and it's like pan-stars can't. Not any one telescope can see the whole sky.
Yeah.
Because northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere for starters. And then there's time of day stuff, like if the sun is in that part of the what we call the celestial sphere, you can't see things there. Anyway, there are reasons. So it's fun that still the person can scoop the automated
It's
computer.
fun. But I have to think,
It is.
I think
It's
it just
just
means
like
that
in
we
Deep
also
Impact.
still need more
It's
money.
just like in Deep Impact.
Good job, Addie.
Oh wait, is one
When-
of the rules of this that we have to suck up to you?
No,
Hey.
that's just a rule for everything.
That's not a special rule for this. That's right. That's just
That's
a
just
general
everything.
rule.
Oh, okay.
No.
In Deep Impact, the little kid makes the serendipitous discovery of a comet.
The little kid being
Scooping.
Mini Frodo.
Yes.
Elijah Wood, my
Elijah
co-star from Deep Impact.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty good sized telescope, and it's a tiny object quite far away. And
And it
it's
seems to be outgassing a little bit, so we think it's more comet-like than Oumuamua was.
right.
Do we have dimensions on it yet?
There are
They're
like
estimating 10 kilometers,
Yes.
but it's so far away and it's not very well resolved.
It's
that-
going to come within 2 AU of the Earth, which is good for
And there's
a lot
already-
of telescopes. Not all
Yeah,
of
there's
them,
already
but
been
for
some observations and some planned observations and things like that.
Yeah, everyone's going to, any telescope that can see
Everybody's
it, someone's
looking.
going to point their telescope at it. Because
Right.
this is only the second time.
I
But
want
it's
to know.
crazy that it happened so
But is it?
quickly. No, I know. I think it's just a testament to how much better we are getting at seeing these things and realizing. There's probably plenty that we've seen and not realized that they were necessarily these interstellar objects until we could really be really good at
if we see
nailing
something
down.
moving, we get an orbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other part is right that
Yeah.
like most of the time they're close to us is very they're very only close to us for a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
So like having better detection skills and things like that of smaller things or further away things that helps too.
Right.
So to cite myself,
Yes.
my RU project in
Yes.
college
Oh, yeah.
was about our ability to detect interstellar, what we were calling
And
interstellar
did you
comets at
conclude
the
we'll
time.
never see them?
No, we concluded that pan-stars might see one in the original configuration of what pan-stars was supposed to be, not what it actually is now, because it would have been more sensitive.
Oh.
One to
Okay.
3, and then
Ever?
in the lifetime of pan-stars, and then when LSST, the
Large
Large
something
Synoptic
sky
Survey
telescope.
Telescope, and when that comes online in the 2020s, it should be able to detect
about-
in the order of 10.
Just to add in a little bit about DPS that happened this week during one of the talks in the plenaries, like in the big where everyone's at the one talk.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody called LSST Robin instead of Batman. That was pretty funny.
I don't understand
I
any of
don't
those
get
words.
that reference.
There was
So it was
something
saying
like
that-
somebody was like, "Well, when LSST comes online, like, isn't this going to do so much better?" And the person's point was like, "Well, it's going to do a lot of good stuff, but it's not going to solve all of these questions that we have. So instead of it being Batman that's going to come in and
Solve all the problems,
save the
save the
world
world.
with all of our questions,
just
it's just Robin." It's
Batman
really funny.
sidekick.
Yeah.
Robin
Okay.
becomes Batman though, eventually.
Does he?
Spoiler
Really?
alert. Yeah.
Well, maybe
That was a
LSST.
I'm amazed.
Maybe
In
LSST.
various versions.
I don't know. There's lots of Batman.
But I
Well,
thought
maybe
your
it will become Batman.
I thought your original story was the person made a mistake in the story.
No, it was just funny because he was like
Oh.
calling out
It's gonna
LSST
be
as just
Robin,
being
it's not
Robin
Batman.
rather than Batman.
Again, room full of nerds.
I think there's also going to be, so coming back to this I-2 or whatever it's going to
Yeah.
be. I think it's also going to like sort of approach Oumuamua. Like their orbits are in different planes, but they actually will, like after it leaves our solar system, it sort of crosses Oumuamua also.
Maybe aliens will beam from one of them to the other.
That was one of the funny things, right? It's like they're both ships and they're passing through and they're
Right.
like going to
Scouting.
transfer crew and stuff like that.
So I
The-
feel
It's
like
pretty
this is
good
a
for-
no. I feel like this is a bad thing now because it's just going to bring the crackpots out. I really want to see the shape of this thing now. What if it's another like
Cigar?
skinny thing?
I
Yeah.
think that one's probably not actually a cigar, right?
That's probably it's probably not. But mentioning all of that, so Oumuamua, there was some speculation. Oh, it's not actually a comet or an asteroid; it's a spaceship because there were some oddities to its motion.
Yeah.
After it came through the solar system, which has now been, I think, fairly securely attributed to what we call non-gravitational forces, which is just like sort of rocket effects, but from the natural outgassing of a
Yes.
cometary body when it comes close to the sun. This thing looks, as you said, Addie, kind of
More
comet-like.
cometary. Mm-hmm.
It's, and as you said, Tracy, coming within 2 AU of the sun. of the Earth.
Of the Earth.
2 AU, an AU is the distance of the Earth to the Sun. So that's reasonably close, and that closest approach happens on December 30th,
10th.
I think.
December 10th.
Oh, it would have been nice for a Christmas present.
Yeah, well, it's...
Or a New Year's
No,
present.
the Earth closest approach is December 30th. It's the Sun closest approach that's December 10th, according to my notes.
Okay.
It
Doesn't
comes
matter.
close in December.
In any event, it's a Christmas miracle.
Maybe it's the star... Okay.
Maybe, yeah. So that's coming through. Okay. So
Okay.
we've got another cool asteroid thing that is our trivia will segue us to.
I was going to say, do we have trivia?
Yay,
We
trivia.
have trivia,
Uh-oh.
and the answers
Bad
are displayed
trivia.
here. So I hope your
Don't-
vision isn't very good,
Don't
Tracy.
look, Tracy.
2020. Not gonna look though.
Not gonna look. You can't look for the next 20 minutes because that's how long before we get to the answers.
We'll just put it off the screen.
This, as I mentioned at the start of the show,
Yes.
the trivia is a bit of a stretchel.
Great.
So it is inspired by the Mona Lisa.
Okay.
And it's inspired by the Mona Lisa because in our next topic we're going to be talking about a discovery that was enabled by rare meteorites in fossils.
Just like Mona
Which
Lisa.
which is a rare thing. So the
Great.
author of the study said these are like
It
Mona
is a bit of a
Lisa.
stretchical.
Stretchical?
Okay, let's
That's the whole.
let's get the
Okay.
question.
That's a stretch,
Let's
right?
do the
That's
question.
good.
Okay, the Mona Lisa was painted by. You all
Leonardo
know.
da Vinci.
That's not the trivia question.
Okay.
Leonardo da Vinci, right?
I was like, are we supposed to
Well, I'm
answer?
gonna win. I won the first trivia question. So.
You did, and you know that the trivia rules are: if you know the answers to these, which you won't,
Don't shout it out.
don't shout out. You
You
gotta keep the suspense.
Oh, okay.
very
Thank you for
confident.
letting me know the rules because I'm not good at not shouting things out. So okay.
I noticed that at the sessions earlier today. Anyway, the Mona Lisa painted by Leonardo da Vinci. So I'm going to give you 5 painters
Okay.
and 5 numbers.
Okay.
It's a mix and match
Great.
trivia. It's our first ever
It's our first
matching
ever matching
trivia
trivia.
question.
Do I need paper and a pen?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
You know, well, if you need it, you don't get it. So
Okay.
Right.
God damn it. Okay.
And what we're matching is the number of paintings
to the
painter.
Got it.
How many
Wow.
paintings
I'm
did
on
this
this. I can
painter
do this trivia.
do?
I mean,
It's completely
do
random.
like that are well known and stuff like that, right?
Right, because
Here
everybody
are-
was
Here-
a kid and they like
Here
scribbled.
are
Yeah.
your painters.
Okay.
In no
Is
particular
one of
order.
them Josh Caldwell?
No.
Okay.
The number would be 0 if it were.
You've never painted anything?
Not counting 3rd grade
Okay.
splashes
So,
or
yes, we have
putting
our
my hand down in a
qualifications.
paint. So here are your painters. I'll give them in alphabetical order.
Okay.
Da Vinci,
Yes.
Heard of them.
Michelangelo.
Heard of
Yes.
them.
Oh shoot, I should have done Dali first. Sorry, Dali, Salvador
You
Dali.
said it was in no particular order.
And I said it was in alphabetical order. I said it would be in alphabetical order.
Now it's in no particular order.
Salvador Dali.
Damn it! Here's the trivia.
Okay. Wait, that was only 3.
I'm starting over because
Okay.
Salvador Dali, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo,
Okay. Donatello.
Picasso,
Okay.
and Vincent van Gogh. Those are your 5 painters.
Tracy's looking at the answers.
No, I'm not. Actually,
You actually were.
I am, and I don't see the answers
Okay,
though.
good.
And
Perfect.
the numbers are in numerical order. 10,
52.
15, 900,
Oh.
1,500, and 1,995.
Oh,
In
okay.
other words,
How is anybody supposed to do
I didn't
this?
think any of them had done
We'll go back
anything
and
of
do it
those
later.
magnitudes.
so 3 very
Okay.
prolific
Bonnie's raising her
painters
hand.
and 2
Bonnie
not
would like
very
to ask a
prolific
question.
painters out
Yes.
of that list of 5 very famous
Wow.
painters.
I guess I'm surprised that there's such a difference between them.
I was
among
as well.
them.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Among
fascinating.
them.
Between.
Among.
A difference.
In the
Among
number of
them.
paintings.
We'll come back to that.
I'll leave the room for that discussion.
It's a grammar discussion.
Sorry, the grammar
Not
doesn't
interested
belong
in the
on the
grammar
Walkabout.
discussion.
It does.
It does. We
Oh, it
often have
does.
grammar on a walk.
Okay.
It does, but
Sometimes correct grammar.
we divert too much.
Can we curse on it? Because I want to say something to
You
Addie
already
right
did.
now.
So.
Go ahead,
Okay,
and
I
I'll
did. Okay.
I'll bleep you or
No,
edit
it's
if
okay.
necessary.
No.
What did you want to say?
I was just going to tell her to shut the fuck up.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no, don't say that.
No, okay.
No, it's okay.
I have a question. Are these true paintings, like paint on canvas or paper, or not pencil sketches?
I will say that Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel fresco I count as one.
Okay.
And it does not count Picasso's pencil sketches
Okay.
or Da Vinci's pencil sketches. So it's paintings.
Okay.
Paint on brush. And
Paintings that exist today. Because...
who
Are you going to actually count?
No, because there were some
things?
that painted
Who are you telling
over...
to paint? Shoot to shut up?
There's only one painting that
There's
matters
I'm going
in my
to...
world.
No. I'm going to use
Bonnie
a
is
word
very
that's
competitive.
important in planetary science. Palimpsest.
Congratulations.
There's paintings over paintings. Some
There
of these
are.
guys redid stuff, so that's why my question
There's only
is...
one.
Is that truly going to make a difference in what you
No,
decide
it
is your
won't.
answer? This is my
I
point.
just like
There's
being a
only
jerk.
one painting in the world that matters to me,
That's a painting over a painting?
and it's the painting of the
Oh,
painting.
it's the restoration.
The restoration of the
Casey's
little
favorite painting.
painting of
Tracy checks
Jesus.
this
Jesus.
every day at the start of the day to make sure she
When
has
I
a happy
need to
day.
have a happy day, I look at the painting.
This is
But
the,
the woman so really tried to make a better restoration painting of Jesus
Did she?
in the church, and it turned into
this was this
one of the most horrifying results.
famously horrible restoration of a painting in a small church in Spain, and it's not the original work was not a masterwork or anything like that.
It was fine.
But it
And-
was not a travesty.
And a person who had sort of my painting skills
Or mine.
somehow
Better than mine, honestly, though.
volunteered and went in to touch
it
it
up.
up.
And like Jesus got one big long giant neck,
Well,
and his mouth kind of turned into a big O shape.
it looks like a sort of cartoon or children's book painting of an Eskimo or something
Or like a
that,
Picasso.
with a big,
Bring it back around.
Screen mixed in.
we'll post links to
It's
that.
my favorite painting.
Okay. So
Why isn't she on
Okay,
this
Can you
list?
repeat the numbers?
no.
No,
And
we'll
the
come back
people.
to it later.
Yes.
Okay.
So
You can think about it, but not
our
really.
other the
It's not
Put
that
it off the
stressful.
screen so I don't look at
the
it.
Mona Lisa inspired that because of this recent discovery from looking at fossilized meteorites, which is not really a great term, but that's what some of the articles were calling it. But
Fossilized
meteorites found
I love a
in
good fossilized rock.
fossils. So we have some, and just in old layers, so they could be identified their date, which is never a problem. You don't need fossils there to do the radioactive dating, but there was an ability to show that there were a large number of meteorites at the same time that came from the same parent asteroid. So this is the critical thing, is that the solar system kindly gives us asteroid samples for free.
It's very generous.
Even though we're sent these spacecraft off to collect them, as we were talking about, Hayabusa 2 and OSIRIS-REx are going off to get asteroid samples, but we actually get asteroid samples for free. Bits of the asteroids bump into each other, they break apart, and some of those bits end up falling on the Earth. We pick them up, call them meteorites.
We see them
and
as
we can
shooting
analyze
stars
them.
when they come in.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Little bits that fall all the time. We talked about an old meteorite recently that gave us some iron dating from a long time ago. Lots of good stuff we can do.
And
with
if
them.
you see the shooting star, and sometimes then you can retrieve that thing and the data from seeing the shooting star, you can say what kind of orbit it was on immediately before it hit. But its orbit changes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But compositionally, these things could be identified as coming from the same object. So one thing, and they're all at the same historical level in the Earth's geology. So at that time in history, an asteroid nearby broke up and a lot of debris hit, and
That was very cool.
they were able to calculate that in addition to like meteorites, there's dust coming in to
Little
the
tiny
Earth
bits.
all the time,
All the time.
which we never notice. The amount of dust, do I have the number?
Something
40,000 tons of asteroid dust lands on the planet asteroid and comet dust lands on the planet every year.
And part of that is what seeds clouds and upper atmospheric effects and things
Right.
like that too. So
And
this is special.
it is so special.
Also, when I was scrolling through the article we looked at, when I first saw the picture of the little fossilized meteorite in the rock, it looked like a sort of a weird inverted view of Jupiter's red spot, like of a red
Right.
spot or something like that.
Okay,
And I
as
was just
someone who
scrolling
hasn't
fast.
read the article, and then therefore
Has-
would probably be a question for all of the people online.
Great.
What does it mean that it's a fossilized?
He said
I
that.
said that.
I know you
explained
said
that.
it's a bad name, but what?
No, he said what it was.
Oh, I was not saying that.
Yeah,
It's a
just
piece
a
of meteorite
meteorite
in another-
collected together with fossils.
Oh, I see.
Like in
At
another
one
rock
layer.
structure.
Yeah, and it's does, and
Okay.
the sort of the fact that it's with a fossil is sort of irrelevant.
It's cool because it's
Okay.
well, I mean, help it
It's
age date
cool.
it,
Yeah.
right? So if it's with
Well, you get the age dating from radioactive decay dating,
that's true.
right, from that sediment. So the dinosaur killing impact, which was, let's see, this one, the dinosaur killing impact 65 million years ago. This was 466 million years ago.
Okay.
So much longer ago, we knew about mass extinction events from big things hitting the Earth. And a big thing, the dinosaur hit the Earth, and we knew about that originally from just getting iridium
layer
from dirt in geographic layers, and that dirt was dated just from normal radioactivity. You didn't need the fossils there.
I like dating
I
radioactively.
wasn't going to say anything.
Nice. Oh
Wow.
ouch.
Anyway, this collection of meteorites, all from the same object,
Yeah.
but not the big thing hitting, says, okay, some asteroid got broken apart. We know this happens all the time from our observations of orbits of asteroids. We can follow their traces back in time and say, oh, sometime before they were all at the same
Together,
point at the same time, so it's a fragment. So all these meteorites came from the same thing 466 million years ago, and they were able to calculate that increased that 40,000 tons of asteroid dust hitting the Earth per year by a factor of, drum roll please, 1,000.
What?
10,000.
10,000. I read the wrong number.
Double what?
I read the wrong.
What, times 10?
Yeah, I was thinking.
What?
10,000.
It's okay.
10,000. I have so many numbers in my notes here. The 1,000 was a number that
Some of them,
was
the number of
somewhat
paintings.
related. For example, right. 10,000 times greater, and it lasted for a while. And
That's always nice.
This big sort of flux. So it wouldn't have been like one day.
Next question.
Yes.
What's the distribution? Like, is it in one little area that they found this, or is this like across the planet? Like, where are they
This
finding
was
it?
in Scandinavia, I think.
Yeah, most of the rocks they found were
Norway,
in Sweden.
Sweden.
Okay.
But the
So they
impacts
found
would have been
one
global,
everywhere.
of course.
They found one, and then did a systematic search like nearby. And they found 130 meteorites over the next 2 decades.
Okay.
So it's been an ongoing thing.
Oh.
Right.
Have they done other parts of the planet where
I don't think
rocks
so.
are this old? Okay.
Not yet.
Because, I mean, essentially what people or the dinosaurs living at that time would have experienced was like what we have, like,
Too early.
Too early
too
for
early
dinosaurs.
even for dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Yes.
How long ago was it?
These
This
were
is the
nautiluses that were found with
Yes.
the
Oh.
fossils that were
Yes.
found, like
This
the rocks were
is
nautiluses.
shortly after what's called the Cambrian explosion,
Uh-huh.
466 million
Okay.
years ago. So we have multicellular life and exciting things, but not. It's sort of at the beginning.
You don't
of
have
the dinosaur.
macrofauna.
But that. Pulling out the
Yeah,
megafauna.
nautiluses.
I'm all about the big
Nautili.
So nautiluses,
Yeah.
like the big sea fan things. What about trilobites?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
how
think we
old
have
those are.
trilobites.
Trilobites,
Okay.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
What
all
about-
of them would have, so it would have been like an incredible like Perseid shower type thing. Like when you go and see the Perseid, like when you go out to see a
Well-
meteor
I know,
shower.
because it's
But
more
this
like
would
the
have been
dust stuff, right? So it's more just like...
But all the dust is all you need for a
You need
shooting
bigger-
stars.
No, you need
like
pebbles
centimeter
or
size
bigger.
stuff.
But if they're finding remnants of it, there must have
So
been some pretty
some
big
of them
stuff.
were.
There would
Right,
have been.
yeah.
There would have
But
been probably a lot of big stuff.
the meteor showers come when we pass through the tail of a comet. So
Yeah.
you get a lot of it all at once.
Yeah.
This was not the tail of a comet or an asteroid. The asteroid collisions were out there, far away, and it just created more junk in our part of the solar system so that the gradual flux
slow
of stuff
okay.
migrating inwards and crossing the orbit of the Earth.
Probably like 50,000 years
Was-
after the asteroid collision.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Sure,
Was
but if
elevated
time.
for 1,000,000 years was higher.
okay, so
than
yeah,
it
that
is
was my
now.
next question: was
Yeah.
how long did this last?
Oh,
They estimated
long
something like 2 million
time.
years.
How? So, but if it's 10,000
Thousand.
times more than what you
Yeah.
get on a typical day out there.
Yes.
Every night.
Yes,
Good.
you may not see like millions of shooting stars, but does the upper atmosphere get hot and charged and
No.
what? No. What?
Here's
no,
what
you
it
build
gets.
more clouds and stuff.
It
Oh.
makes so the
Is this why
punchline
we're-
is
This is the
Mini
ice age.
thing.
We got
I
there.
got it.
We got there.
Yay.
it
Yeah.
makes the planet
Cool.
cooler.
Which is the same thing that happened
It does,
in the
but
giant
in a
impact.
cool way too.
But in a much faster,
Right.
more
it's
immediate
also
way.
just cooler that was going on.
Okay.
And maybe
It's so
temperature
hip.
cooler.
So the dust
Definitely
in that
cooler.
app. So these are most of the material coming in is in tiny
Just
particles,
Marina.
not these big rocks.
Not cooler. Bonnie just did the Macarena in celebration of the idea of the Earth being
No,
cool.
in response to Tracy's comment about being cool,
Being hip.
because that was
I'm
really
hip,
not
I'm with it.
cool.
Did she say cool with an EWL?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I'd say cool.
Cool.
I can say cool.
But
And I
the
think
Earth
the
was
Macarena
cooler.
is equal in coolness.
The Earth was cooler because most of the stuff coming in from this asteroid collision 466 million years ago was dust. And those little particles don't make shooting stars. They come in and they are immediately slowed down by the Earth's upper atmosphere, and they hang out in the upper atmosphere, and they stop sunlight from getting to the troposphere where weather is. So this triggered.
And there's been hypotheses about this before. Like, if you increase the amount of dust, how does it work? And some of the ways to fight climate
more
change
than hypothesis.
are hypothesizes like put a bunch of particles up in the atmosphere.
We actually see it with the Mount Pinatubo eruption.
Yeah.
In
But I
modern
mean,
days,
sort of like
you
more
can
global
see.
scale.
I mean, there's a global dip in the
I
average
meant something
temperature.
different, so it's fine.
Okay.
But yeah, we do see this. We know
Giant
this
volcanic
happens.
eruptions and the Little Ice Age. They most recent studies are sponsor for this episode, if you recall.
Thank you so much, by the way.
The Little Ice Age was probably triggered by 4 very massive volcanic eruptions around 1300. It's commonly associated with something called the Maunder minimum.
Yes.
Which is a decreasing number of sunspots in the sun for a much shorter period of time than the Little Ice Age actually occurred.
Yeah.
In any event, all that dust
How
coming
many
in...
paintings were done in that time?
We're going to get to that in 1 second.
Okay.
Because that Little Ice Age.
Now I'm getting how everything flows together in this episode.
Oh, it's magical.
It's a magical thing.
It's the magical podcast.
It's the magical podcast.
This
You can
is
redo
the
the opening
Good
message.
Natured podcast, but next time it'll be magical.
Next time when
Just
we're not
for you.
here.
It'll be less magical for that reason, but
Right.
Damn right.
So, over a long, gradual period of time, which is the best way to have changes, if you're somebody like me,
you don't like a sudden change.
the climate changed
Slowly
and
it
cooled,
happens, and then you realize.
and this cooling is attributed to a rapid diversification of life on Earth.
The Cambrian explosion.
Cambrian
The
explosion
different
was
than the
before
Cambrian
that.
predated this,
Okay.
but it may have enabled one of the interesting things about evolution is it requires
Something drastic.
weird
Changes.
like different kinds of climate and separations of things. So you've got to have a place that then gets divided by a river, and the things on one side and the things on the other have different sorts of environments, and so they evolve different ways.
Yeah.
And it's really fascinating. So if you have just like a completely uniform forest planet, you're not going to have...
The forest moon of Endor, for instance.
For example, you're probably not going to have Ewoks.
Maybe you only have Ewoks.
Or maybe you just have Ewoks.
Which is kind of what it
But
seems
how
like.
do
nightmare.
Oh, I love Ewoks.
But
That's because you were born after 1982.
I was, that's true.
This gradual diversification, this gradual change of the climate is believed to have enabled a big diversification of species on the planet.
Excellent.
466 million years ago.
Thanks,
Of course,
asteroid
then they
breakup.
all get
That is
wiped
very
out
cool.
a few hundred million years later when another asteroid comes in and all of a sudden puts a gigantic amount of dust in the atmosphere, which leads to a more sort of nuclear winter kind of climate change. It's just dark for 2 years.
2 years.
There's no light. Everything dies.
So
99% of the species are dead.
But thanks,
have we...
asteroid, because we got to be here.
Yep.
So that's super cool.
Right?
Thanks for telling me about it.
Literally.
Right?
I didn't read it, so I appreciate this discussion.
Uh-huh.
So they have the meteorite, so they...
Several.
And they've identified that it's all coming from the same. Did they talk about what kind of asteroid it was? Potentially.
Oh, yeah. Probably it has one of those letters on it. So
It probably has a D or a
or
C.
C or
an
Probably a
M,
C, right?
or an S.
yeah.
Maybe a Q.
I don't know if they know that much detail. Because
Okay.
they're like
They
little
know they
bits.
should be able to.
Yeah,
They know
They could probably
a
say what
little
kind
bit.
of chondrite it is.
We'll
and
do
then...
some
But,
different
yeah,
research.
But that's
Okay,
for...
just curious.
This is the Good Natured Astronomy podcast. That's for the technical astronomy podcast, and that we're not the technical.
We could do
astronomy
a
podcast.
supplemental information
curious.
for this episode.
Yeah.
I just like asteroids.
Yeah. So I'm sure there are lots.
Tracy is
there are hundreds,
asteroids, as Addie is too.
the moon. Hundreds of scientists here at this meeting would be very obsessed about whether it's a C-type or a P-type or an S-type or a Q-type or an X-type, and we don't care.
Most of those are actual types.
Well, we can talk about how
No.
ancient it was
No.
versus whether it was a near-Earth thing.
No.
And what
It's not
family?
relevant to
Right,
No.
family's important.
No.
Not for this story.
No. No.
Well, because okay,
No.
so can I bring up a
Remember,
different?
remember a minute ago when this was super cool? That's where we're leaving.
But you're
it.
mispronouncing it. It was cool.
Cool.
But families are important because we talked about academic families.
Right.
Yeah.
Families is one of the
Segue.
Tying it back in.
Okay.
We don't know what family it
Picasso,
was from.
Da Vinci,
Oh yeah.
Dali, Van Gogh, and Michelangelo. And your
Okay.
numbers are 10, 15, 900, 1500, and 1995.
I'm just gonna order them because I can't connect like that.
So you have two that are in the tens.
2 around 10, 1 around 1,000, 1,500, and 2,000.
I feel like the older guys produced fewer paintings because I feel like I've seen 1,000 different Picasso paintings.
Okay, that's good.
All right,
clue. Thanks.
somebody go out first. So,
I think Van Gogh. Am I allowed to say
Here.
things?
please do.
I think
You
Van
go.
Gogh has the highest one.
Okay. Any other guesses?
I
on-
think Van Gogh is low. There's too many. I can't.
I think Van Gogh has
There's too
one of.
many.
It's either
Pick
the
one.
highest or the
Doesn't
second
have to
highest.
be Van Gogh. All right, so Tracy says Van Gogh
Is
Is up there in the
highest,
thousands.
second highest. Any other thoughts
I
on
think-
who's the highest or Van Gogh?
I think Van Gogh's like down
Picasso's
lower.
the highest.
Okay, so Van Gogh and
Okay,
Picasso.
Picasso
name
is the
them one more
highest.
time.
Okay.
Bonnie
Okay.
wins.
Bonnie
There's
wins.
one.
Picasso's the highest.
1995, which should have been a clue because it's such a precise number,
That's true.
and he's the 20th. The later. So he's the one
Yeah.
we're going to really have
No.
that super. Well, also.
And everything he makes is expensive.
Yeah,
Yes, I mean he was
It
also,
was
he
an
was also I mean he
Alejandro
did let things
character.
for political reasons, but he was also
he
kind
was
of a whore.
crazy.
Right, I mean,
prolific.
in terms of like he would just paint stuff for
Yeah.
people because they gave him money.
Yeah.
What a-
No, you're right. He just
that
like
make you
he was
a
like, oh,
whore?
here, I'll scribble something out, and it's a Picasso.
Yeah.
I have an important update. It's an L chondrite.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Oh.
That's for our poor aggrieved listeners. That's the technical type of meteorites for this thing that was
Yes.
the cool thing, which is now.
Now it's dead. Now it's not cool.
1995 Picassos.
Okay.
Okay.
Van Gogh,
What second? Highest?
No.
900.
Yeah, he was
Oh,
way
middle
lower. No, 900 was like the second or third.
That's the middle.
Middle.
All right, so
All
you
right,
have
so then it's
Michelangelo,
Dali.
Michelangelo,
Between the two?
Da
Dali.
Vinci, and Dali.
So
And
I
you have
think
two
Da
lows and a
Vinci-
high.
Da Vinci in terms of paintings is probably pretty low.
I know
feel
he
like we should
produced
have a
a
card
lot of stuff.
game.
That's why I tried to clarify with the sketches stuff because I know he produced a lot. I just don't
Not
know how much he
sketches.
painted.
I don't
Sketches
think
don't
he painted
count.
as much. I'm gonna go. He's low.
Da Vinci?
Yes.
Yeah. We'll put him low.
Maybe even lowest
Oh, no, I think Michelangelo might be lowest.
because he just did one big giant thing.
No,
You
but
have
he
to pick. You
did
have to
few.
decide. It's like
I
Jeopardy.
think Da Vinci is
the clock
lowest.
is out. Tracy,
Sure. Da Vinci and
Bonnie.
Da Vinci's lowest.
Michelangelo.
Bonnie is 2 for 2. Michelangelo is lowest.
Addie
Da Vinci.
girl.
Then Da Vinci,
Woo!
just 15. So,
Okay.
So
So then
Dali was the
Dali is second
high
most.
producing.
Wait,
Dal-
what were Michelangelo's two?
Michelangelo's 10.
10. Sorry. Oh, you don't.
Well,
have
the
to name them all.
Sistine
Okay.
Chapel and 9 others.
Okay.
And Da Vinci's 15 were the Mona Lisa and 14 others, including the Last Supper. So the Mona Lisa, the Last Supper, and 13
We saw
others.
the Last Supper in a stained glass window today.
But not the Da Vinci. And Dali was about 1,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
That actually surprises me about
But
Dali.
you did
just because-
very, very well.
She usually does.
Yeah.
I know.
Plus,
That's
you-
my academic
She's a
aunt.
trivia ringer.
You must have had a really clever academic advisor. And you said palimpsest.
I did.
Palimpsest. There's not an extra
I
S.
love that
There
word.
isn't?
I think it's just, isn't it just palimpsest?
I
No,
think it's
I-
palimpsest.
Remember when we were talking about how to not make this podcast cool?
I don't remember that.
I
And then we
remember-
invited you.
I remember when you were making it not cool.
Oh, it is cest.
Yep.
Sorry.
While it may
Oh,
have
yeah.
felt like a transatlantic flight, it was just another episode of Walkabout the Galaxy. If you liked this episode of Walkabout the Galaxy, write us a review and have it read from the floor of the General Assembly of the United Nations. If you didn't, try again. You'll get there. Be sure to like us on Facebook to get all our updates and check out our website at walkaboutthegalaxy.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Guess what it's called?
Walkabout the Galaxy.
Walkabout the Galaxy, where you can see our state-of-the-art hotel room recording studio. Catch up on old episodes wherever you get your podcasts and hear us answer listener questions on I've Always Wondered on the Are We There Yet podcast from NPR affiliate WMFE. Thanks to our listeners in Switzerland and around the world. Follow us on Twitter
At walk_the_galaxy.
and ask us questions anywhere using hashtag WalkaboutTheGalaxy. Our theme music was composed by Richard Jerusik. I'm Josh Caldwell.
I'm Addie Dove.
I'm Tracy Becker.
And I'm Bonnie Meinke.
We're the Astroquark, signing off until the next episode of Walkabout the Galaxy.
Palimpsest!
Right on.
I know, it had to be that.